Hello, everyone.
Hello.
As we populate ourselves.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Here comes Patty.
Hello.
Dennis.
Where's Patty?
Yeah, just let her in the door. I'm letting people in as we speak.
Don't let her in, lock it.
We can.
She'll have some kind of good snack to try to, trick you into letting her in. Don't fall for it.
Okay.
Patty.
Hi.
Dave and Marcy Ellis over here.
We're just letting people in the door, and we'll ask you once we get everybody in, if you'll mute yourself, we'll give you a few guidelines about what Dean Garvey's going to talk about and go from there.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions before then? Hey, Patty.
Hey, guys.
Do you see her, Tony? Dennis?
I don't see her.
She's here. Wave.
I'm here.
She's at the lakes. She's in Switzerland. Where are you?
Oh, I thought it was maybe Glacier Park.
Oh, Glacier Park. Yes, of course.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
You be careful, that could freeze over this winter.
I know, but my brain's frozen over anyway, so what's the difference does it make?
It's great.
I do love looking at everybody's virtual screens. People just live in such great places, like Patty living at Glacier.
That's right. It must be hell washing that window, Patty, though.
It is.
And I like Julia's too, her wildlife.
Yeah, that is cool.
Uh-huh.
So I see Kay Bork, and
I think I've done more waving at a computer screen with Zoom. It's just the natural, we can't hug, so we have to just wave.
Well, Chris is here and you see a giant K, and that's just because the camera on my computer decided not to work so well today. But hi, everybody.
hello.
Hi, Marcy and Dave.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey,
That's Kay
Marcy
Bork.
and Dave, oh dear.
The Borks.
Come on.
We see you.
I'm still inviting people.
Good. Well, I'm still letting people in the door.
Are we gonna get rid of this later,
I don't know. We've got those on our screen in the big is this big sign about the class today. Can we?
The sex, drugs, and growing old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, you don't like seeing that?
Well, it takes up all the screen. We don't get to see the people.
Oh, sure. Okay, everybody, I'll stop it and you can look at each other.
oh, that's a lot
There,
better.
that's better.
And then,
So much better.
Yeah.
there he is.
You move over just a touch.
Don't you want your chair?
Well, I think I may get it.
I think you should.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to get my picture on there.
Go down to the bottom where it says video on the lower left-hand corner. It'll have a red slash through it. Click on it and get rid of the red slash.
Oh, okay. Let's see, where was I now? Here we go. Oh, now it doesn't have a red slash.
Oh, you'll get here.
Oh, it doesn't matter. We don't have to see me.
Oh,
Hello,
I'd love
Ernie.
to see you, Donna.
Yep, Ernie's there too.
Get in.
And Karen.
We're gonna wait a couple more minutes and then we'll get started.
Oh, look at Ernie and Karen.
Yep.
Their flag.
Oh, that's them over there. I see. See, we can go there and we get different people.
We
That's
have another
what I was
Zoom
looking for.
Oh,
call
I love your flag. That
Yeah.
is great.
with my After the March ladies. And so we had our flag on in
Very
honor of our new president.
Yay.
They wanted something with red, white, and blue.
I keep coming in and out. Yeah, okay,
Okay.
we're fine.
Well, before we get started, I'll just run a couple items by you all. Once Dean Garvey begins his presentation, we'll ask you to mute yourself, and then there will be opportunity, Dennis has assured me, for us to interact, but that will help with background noise. And you all, as I have experienced, sometimes a dog, a child, a grandchild, a telephone, a cell phone, a doorbell will occur, and this will just help us keep our focus on Dennis Garvey as he speaks to us. But before we go any farther, I wanted to tell you about two important things related to OLLI in Sedona Verde Valley. And we are doing a trial membership for first-time members and just for people to try out OLLI during this time of online learning. So a $10 membership, and then you can participate in some workshops and also buy your courses a la carte. So that's all found on our website. And you can, those of you, I want to show you one other item, and this is OLLI at Sedona Verde Valley has a YouTube channel. And we just posted a lot of stuff. Yes, late last night. We had an open house where we had about 15 of our facilitators give presentations about what they're going to teach this term. Feel free to go on and listen to 5 minutes, or if you want to listen to the full 90 minutes, you can listen to all the courses that were featured. And our YouTube channel is very simple to find, rather than you try to YouTube. If you've ever looked at a YouTube channel, they put a lot of funny letters and numbers in there. If you'll just go to YouTube and search OLLI Sedona Verde, it'll come up and you can view those. And then finally, if you're interested in any kind of lifelong learning, Yavapai College has something for everyone, whether you're in Prescott or in Sedona Verde Valley. You just go to our website at www.yc.edu and you can look at community ed in Prescott, OLLI in Prescott, College for Kids in Prescott, Ed Adventures, Community Ed in Verde Sedona, OLLI Sedona Verde Valley, and College for Kids Verde Valley. So we've got lots of information on our website, and then I won't go to Facebook, but there's a public Facebook page if you want to learn about community ed or about OLLI. So let me let in a few more people, and I'd like to just give a moment for our Tony Caetano is here with us, and he's going to just say hello to you and greet you from OLLI Sedona Verde Valley. So Tony, I don't see you. There's too many faces, but if you'll just say hello.
I'm here. Yeah, hello, everybody. Linda, can you go back to that screen that you were just on?
Okay, the website?
The website, yeah.
Sure, I'm there.
Okay. And can you click on OLLI Sedona Verde Valley and then go to donate?
Oh, he's going to tell you some good news, everybody.
Yeah.
We're very proud. We're going to be like Prescott.
And yep, there you go. And right at the bottom, you'll see OLLI Sedona Verde Valley Endowment. Thanks to the generous gifts from the Borks and everybody that's on the Leadership Council, Marge and George Haas, Shri Shranketh, myself, Julie Lawson, I know I'm going to forget somebody, Lou Camp, let's see now, and others. We were able to raise $10,000 to set up this endowment, and so now we will be able to have this money, which will accrue over the years and give us some operating monies to help us with our expenses as we go forward. So thank everybody for your contributions, and thank you, Linda.
Oh, thank you all so much. And we're so delighted because Prescott has an endowment, and Tricia was very helpful with this too. So we're just thrilled to have both of our programs here at Yavapai College serving different parts of the county. Although during the pandemic, and as we learn online, we do have opportunities to share our programming together, and that's been a real treat. So thank you all for coming. We wanted to do something a little special during this time of Zoom learning. And some of you may know that Dennis Garvey used to be the Dean of Lifelong Learning here at Yavapai College. And Dennis has a special place in my heart because Dennis hired me. And I'm very, very grateful for that. I love living in Arizona and I love my work here, my colleagues, and working with all of you OLLI folks. But Dennis has a much longer history than just working for Yavapai College. He's going to talk to us about the book that he wrote, Sex, Drugs, and Growing Old. And I know we're all eager, if you haven't already read the book, to hear what he's going to say today. But Dennis is also he is currently working he's a retirement planning consultant. And he's worked in radio as a radio host for Public Radio International. He's had stories featured in CNN, the Boston Globe, AARP, and NPR. He's also served as the director of an older adult health system for a hospital, and he's worked in geriatric mental health therapists working with older adults. So I'm just thrilled that Dennis was willing to spend some time with us this afternoon to give us some ideas and perspective about growing old. And knowing Dennis, not only is he an accomplished musician, he also is a humorist. So I know we're going to end up laughing and having a good time together. So Dennis, thank you so much for coming and speaking to us, and we'll hand it off to you.
My pleasure. Thank you all for coming. It's nice to see all of your names and some of your flags and some of your windows. I'm looking forward to doing today because as you know, you've adapted to this Zoom environment probably more than I have, because I retired last May, and people are, like, how's retirement? What do you think? How is that? I said, it's great if you don't want to leave the yard. It's not what I was shooting for all the years that I was working, that's for sure. But it's been a very interesting experience for me, and doing this presentation is one of them also. I'm used to being in front of a crowd where I get feedback, and both positive and negative, if you can imagine that. So I'm going to try to keep this very flexible so you get what you want out of this. I think Linda's going to have the comment section open. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask them. And at the appropriate time, I can get to answer those questions. I want to make this your time because it really is your time that you're giving for this. And one thing I know, are you all OLLI members? Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thumbs up. We've got pros here, clapping hands, thumbs up. This is great. Well, you should all be OLLI members. And if you're not, sign up right in the middle of when I'm talking. You won't miss anything. Just go ahead and sign up and become a member. But one thing I know about OLLI members is you're a participatory group. I think that's the nicest way to say it, right, Tony?
Yeah.
It's a participatory group that people want to come and share and their insights and learn from one another. It really is the beauty of the program. I was involved with lifelong learning for older adults back in the 80s, early 80s. I put one of the first programs in a community college at Cape Cod Community College. And I'm 100% sold on the value of this way of learning. So again, I want to make this something meaningful for you so that we respect the time that you've put into this. 40 years in the field, as Linda said, as a gerontologist. And a gerontologist is someone who studies how society, individuals, and institutions age. What happens as an individual gets older across the board? What happens as a community gets older? What happens when the institution of higher education is dealing with and responsible for meeting the needs of an older adult population? What happens to that institution? Well, you know that Yavapai College smartened up, as we'd say back east. They smartened up real early, and you've got 2 strong OSHA lifelong learning programs across the whole county. That's what happens. The college needs to do the best it can to serve its members. And this is a model that was in place before I got here back in 2002, and it's just continued to grow. And establish its prominence, not only among the members, but within the college. The college created a dean's position of lifelong learning, which it didn't have, because it recognized how important it was to have our voice at the table as we move forward for doing this. And I say all that, and they're not paying me at all now. So that's the truth. That's the way I really believe about it. If I was cashing a check on Friday, I would have had to make sure I didn't miss that part. But I could skip it all I want right now, but it's still the truth. So I wanted to get to that. As Linda said, I traveled the country for, probably 7 or 8 years before I came to Yavapai, doing pre-retirement training seminars. And I was working mostly with corporate America, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Hershey. By the way, Hershey was my favorite gig that I would get, because I would be right in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And there were chocolate on your pillows. There were M&Ms in the bowl at the elevator. It was a good gig. I volunteered to go to Hershey all the time. And now that I'm thinking about it, I went out one morning and I said, as I told you, I'm from Cape Cod. I was up early one morning and I went out and I could smell the chocolate in the air. And I was standing next to one of the people from Hershey and I said, wow. I said, this is great. I mean, this is how nothing like the smell of napalm in the morning, but nothing like the smell of chocolate in the morning. This is wonderful. And he looked at me, goes, oh, it gets a little old. And I looked at him, I said, yeah, I suppose, but I'll tell you what, I'm from Cape Cod. I'll trade you low tide for the smell of chocolate in the morning any day of the week. And he kind of nodded his head in agreement that, yeah, maybe, chocolate was better than low tide if you had your choice. As I said, I traveled the country doing pre-retirement training. I've taught in the field of gerontology and consulted with businesses. When I was on the road, people would come up, do you have a CD or a DVD? I like to use a lot of humor, just mostly not for your point, but to entertain myself. I'm going to fly out to Boise, Idaho. I might as well have a good time. So I try to enjoy myself. So they would be looking for something and they said, you should write a book. And I don't know if I need to write a book. Yeah, you do. Yeah, okay. And I went to see my sister in California, she's a PhD, a very smart woman, and 8 years older than I am. And in our conversation, I heard from her, of course, not only sexist material that she had grown up with that kind of defined who she was from her perspective, but certainly ageist information, things she was telling me about her experience of growing older that I couldn't argue that it wasn't her experience, but I definitely realized that it wasn't necessary for her to continue to hold on to, that these were myths. These were stories that our culture told us about what it meant to be older. And she had kind of incorporated them into her sense of self. And I remember going to bed that night thinking, I got to write a book. I've got to be able to summarize what I think about this experience of aging based on the conversations around the country in the study, et cetera, so that people can read it. So I put together this. You saw the little poster, Sex, Drugs, Growing Old, Boomer's Guide to Aging. It's about 115 pages long. And I wrote it short because I know no one wants to read 200 pages about growing older. It's just like, they're not going to read it. No, thank you. And I wanted it to be short and to the point. It kind of it started in my mind after Who Moved My Cheese? Do you remember that book? It was a short book and easily consumed by our current way of receiving information in our culture. So short, sweet, to the point, humor in it. And, I wrote it for about 115 pages and I've totally enjoyed it. And this presentation I'm going to give you is kind of part of 40 plus years in the field of aging that I want you to consider. And it's just different ideas. The most important thing about the book and the way I teach and do presentations is this is how I think about this. And if it fits for you, please incorporate this, what I'm saying, into your perspective of the world. And if it doesn't fit for you, feel free to reject it. I'm not writing a book that says, here are the 7 things you need to do to be successful. Start at 1 and work down through 7. I always found that to be a little bit self-promoting. And, you know, who am I to tell you what are the 7 things you need to do to have an enjoyable life? That it's your life we're talking about. You'll be the best judge of what works for you. And I'm just going to lay some things out for you to consider. So I hope also you notice there's nothing about finances in here. When I traveled the country for those 6 and 7 years, I traveled doing pre-retirement seminars, and they would send an attorney out to do the financial piece of investing and trust and wills and all of that stuff. And I did essentially I used to tease them that they did the how to live your life so you could live happily ever after. And I did what the heck is happily ever after? What does that look like? You know, you invest your money here, put it there. If you want to save up for your retirement, drink 1 less cup of coffee a day and put that in the piggy bank. And when you retire 30 years from now, you'll have that many cups of coffee in the bank. You've been to those financial seminars where they give you a stake if you sit through the whole presentation. And that's really what they focus on, how to save your money, which is obviously an important piece. But I love the fact that they would bring in a gerontologist to say, yeah, save your money so you can live happily ever after. But what does that look like? What does it mean to live happily ever after? And that's, again, an individual choice for all of us. And I used to tease them, you know, that I said, you know, these financial guys, they're great at what they do. But here's a question that we should be asking. Can I have some of my money now? Because while you're working, they want you to sock it all away. But it's like, what if I don't get to happily ever after? Can I enjoy a little of my time now? How can I just peel a little off to do what I want to do? And they were great seminars. I enjoyed the fact that we gave the customers a balance. And we were hired by the corporations to come in. So I didn't have to say, you know, here's your 6 problems and here's your 6 solutions. Just come and see me afterwards. I'll let you know the real story on all of this with the pamphlets that I've got. It was just straight up information. The one thing I used to hear all the time when I was doing the seminars, it would crack me up. And people would be like, you know, when I retire, it's going to be the best day in my life. Unless, of course, the COVID virus is rampant. And then, as I said, they don't let you out of the yard. What I've come to realize since May is everything I said for 8 years was apparently wrong. Because it's this experience of retiring is nothing like I talked to people for about 8 years about, because it's just a different time and place. But I can say that my focus on who are you and what's important to you is critical, because you know, as you're not, I'm sure you're not surprised, who have you been spending most of your time with? Yourself, you know, and that's something that's well worth spending time to get to understand who you are in the world. What are your values, experiences, etc. People would be like, you know, when I retire, I'm going to do anything and everything that I want. And that was me. And I'm not even going to hear the door shut behind me the day I go, because I'm gone. In fact, I'm not even taking my stuff out of my office. You can take my stuff and sell it, put the money in the Sunshine Fund for cakes and stuff, because I'm gone. I'm going to do everything I ever wanted to do it. When I would do this with the seminars, a couple hundred people or more, and it was funny to watch them all. Yeah, that's exactly, because this was pre-retirement for them. I'm going to do it. And then I would pause and I'd say, the only problem is I have no idea what that is. I have no idea what happily ever after looks like. You know, yes, I want to travel. Yes, I want to spend time with grandkids. But in terms of really understanding this next transition, you could see in their faces, there oftentimes was a lot of fear. And these were corporate people who had saved more money than I ever made in my life or will ever make. But you could still see their fear. about this transition into the unknown. We talk about this in our culture as, you know, crossing the bridge and transitioning. In fact, it's so poorly understood that the joke in gerontology is that when it's time to retire and time supposedly no longer matters, they give you a gold watch. That's how backwards we have it. We need to understand this journey to the future. And this is what I've been trying to do. And the other thing that used to get to me in the seminars is people would be, you know, pre-planning, and they'd be like, okay, so where do you live? I'm like, oh, I live on Cape Cod. Oh, that's a nice place. I bet you like it there. Yeah. You know, and I'm thinking about moving. Can you tell me where the cheapest place to move in the country is? And I would pause and I'd be like, well, it's not Sedona. But this is before I got here. But then I'd be like, so can I ask a question? Sure. Why are you asking that question? Well, I just want to move to a place where my money lasts the longest. And they're like, so, you know, on Cape Cod, you know, how much is a gallon of milk? I'm not making this up either. This happened a number of times. How much is a gallon of milk? And I'd be like, I don't know, $1.80 a gallon. Oh, geez, I get mine for $1.40. And oh, okay. Well, don't move to Cape Cod then, because you're going to be spending an extra 40 cents on a gallon of milk. But here's something you need to consider. What? I love Cape Cod. At that time, I would say, I'm not leaving Cape Cod. I live here. In fact, I don't even go on vacation because I live at vacation like you do in Sedona. I live here. I don't have to go on vacation because I'm in the best place to be right now. So think of all the money you save at 40 cents a gallon that you would have spent renting a cottage or a bed and breakfast or traveling someplace. I really wanted people to, of course, they were coming to a financial seminar, so they're really focused on the financial aspect of milk. But I wanted them to look out at their lives and see what that was all about. 3 things that I've heard in my experience working with older people that's cracked me up. When people hear I'm a gerontologist and I work with older people, they say 3 things. The first one is, you work with older people? Yeah, yes, I do. Oh, wow, you must be a nice guy. And I'm like, not particularly, not really, not all the time. Oh, yes, come on. I just love all older people. I just love them. And I would look at him, I'm like, have you met my neighbor? He's not lovable. He's not lovable in the least. And I can tell you, quite frankly, he has no intention of ever becoming lovable. That's not on his radar. Whether he read my book or not, he's not going to become a lovable curmudgeon down the street. He's a grumpy old man, and he works hard at it and develops those skills along that line. The third thing they say is, and this has always cracked me up, you work with older people? Yeah. You know what? That's going to be important someday. Very important. And I'd be like, well, I've been doing it for 38 years so far. Can you tell me when it's really going to become important? Because I'm waiting for that day that people really want to hear all about this. So I'm going to give you kind of thoughts on aging like this, again, that I share with you, that it becomes yours. I do have some statistics, though, because I know the OLLI population, and there's a certain number of stat nerds in the group to be like, yeah, you know, touchy-feely stuff, that's nice, but give me the statistics on things so I know what to be thinking about. So this is your part for the stat folks. Get your pen and papers out, because here's what you need to consider. Since 10,000 people have been turning 65 every day since 2012. 10,000 people turning 65 every day since the year 2012. That's as the baby boomers push through our demographic bulge, and we've seen that look. Back in 1987, we had 30 million people over 65. Today, there's 56.1 million people over 65. In the year 2030, we're going to have 70.3 million people over 65, 70.3 million people over 65 in the year 23. And by the way, the year 2030 is 9 years away. Think about that. And we all lived through the year 2000, you know, Y2K and all. Think how far back in the mirror that is now, the year 2000. We're talking 2021 and going on. So people are living longer, healthier, better educated lives than they ever have before. Majority of people. Key terms: life expectancy. That's the average number of age someone's expected to live. Life expectancy. Lifespan is the average, the maximum length of time that's biologically possible. In lifespan theory, this is where if I was doing a presentation, I would engage you in pithy conversation. But lifespan theory says that on average, maximum life expectancy is about 120 years of age. 120 years of age. In fact, there was a woman in France a number of years ago named Jean Calumet, and she's the oldest living person that we have recorded history of. She turned 120. And when she turned 120, she got national attention, international attention. Everybody wanted to know, how did you live this long? How did this happen? What's the secret? And she was in a residential community with other people. And she said two things that really made me feel good. She said she ate chocolate every day and drank red wine. And I thought, all right, I am on the road to health. This is wonderful. Enough with the vegetables and the cucumbers and the tomatoes. This chocolate and red wine, I have found the secret to the future, to nirvana. So she lived 120, and they went away, and she had another birthday, and they all came back, and they said, what have you done? And this is the interesting thing. This is why I'm telling you her story. In that intervening year, she broke lifespan theory. And by the way, when I read that in the paper, I was having breakfast, and I turned to my wife. I said, honey, there's a woman in France that just blew lifespan theory out of the water. She turned 120. This is phenomenal. It had been a theory. She did it. And my wife looked at me and she said, are you going to take the trash out today? She doesn't share my enthusiasm for my field nearly as much as I do. 120 years. Now, some of you, and I know I don't want to hurt your feelings, most of you remember the Dannon yogurt commercials? Remember that? Dannon yogurt apparently was in different parts of the country. One of them was in Soviet Georgia. And they had found, I'm going to do rabbit ears, found a group of people that ate yogurt over there that were living to 135, 140 years of age. Does that make any sense? Do you remember that at all? Well, I remember it. And I thought to myself at the time, wow, how interesting that Dannon yogurt is in Soviet Georgia and finds a group of long-lived people because they happen to be eating their yogurt product. And I thought this was wonderful. What we discovered as we researched that is that they didn't have verifiable birth records, and they were smart enough to know what the drill was, that if they wanted free yogurt, they said, yeah, me, I'm 142. My friend, 138. Thanks for the yogurt. They got more yogurt in garages over there than they know what to do with, but they didn't verifiably live this long. This woman had a verifiable birth record. She lived to over 120 years of age. The other interesting story about her is over in France, they have, I got to get the term, but because property is so tight over there, that if I wanted to buy your house while you're still in it, I can buy your house with the right to move in when you pass along. And which makes sense. That's a neat idea. But there's a problem with this. She sold her house to an attorney when she was 85. You see the problem? She lived to 120 and the attorney was already dead. So she did quite well in that real estate transaction. And I was happy to see that for her. So lifespan theory is 120. what impacts life expectancy? Certainly mortality rates, medical advances, diseases, COVID would impact life expectancy. Here's some interesting things, and I'm not doing this to scare you, but it's worth knowing that the older you get, the longer you have a chance of living longer. The older you get, the greater chance you have of living longer. What I mean by that, if you reach 65 in 2020, last year, you have a life, if you were born in 2020, you have a life expectancy of 78.9 years of age for both females and male, joint life expectancy. And if you were born a child in 2020, your life expectancy as a man was 76.1, life expectancy as a woman was 81.8. Again, the lifespan theory is maximum 120. But if you reach 65 in 2017, and I have to give you these numbers because we haven't come out with the new census yet. I don't know, I don't know why in our country we have such a hard time counting anything, but we can't even count citizens that are in a house and they can't even run out the back door. But that's a story for another time. But in 2017, if you reach 65 years of age, for men and women, you had 18.8 years of age to go. In 2017, for a woman, you had 20.6 years of age, and for a man, 18.1. If you make it to 75 on average, life expectancy, you have about 11.4 years of age for males and 13 years of age for females. Now, if you make it to 85, you can expect about 8.9 or 5.89 years for males and 7 years more for females. So that's to give you an idea. But I have to caution you, if your parents are still alive, they don't need to know this information. It's kind of tough. It's nice to share, but like, Mom, I was at a seminar and I found out today you've got about 4.3 more years. Just keep that to yourself, and act accordingly. Appreciate the time that you have with this person, because on average, that's about what it's going to be. Life expectancy, again, the longer you live, the greater chance you have of living longer. In 1900, a child from infancy had a life expectancy of 47 years. In 2015, from birth, we had life expectancies of 79 years of age. Men and women outlive men. Used to be, this is interesting, it used to be 7 years. Women outlive men by 7 years. Now it's getting closer to a 5-year difference in terms of ages. And I'm not going to get into why that is, because I always get myself in trouble talking from a male perspective on why we check out 5 years earlier than hanging around with the females that long. But it's something to consider. And I think it really has to do more with women getting in the workplace and stress and tension and all of that kind of stuff that goes with that. There could be a lot more, and I'm sure that we could have a discussion about that. Percentages in the United States. Here's a quiz for you. And since I can only see some of your faces, I'll have to scan. Currently in the United States, 16.9% of the people are over 65. In the United States, 16.9% of the people are over 65 years of age. Arizona, 18% of the population's over 65 years of age. In Yavapai County, I'm going to put my finger up or down. Do you think it's more? Yavapai County, you put your finger up. All right. I'm going to give you some numbers. Tell me when you think I've reached it. It's an interesting way. I'm going to write a book on finger signing in Zoom meetings. No, I'm not. Yavapai County. So the state of Arizona is 18%. Yavapai County is 24%. Is it greater or less? Greater. Linda, you can't do this because I've told you this already. That's not fair. In Yavapai County, it's 32.5% of the people over 65 years of age. 32.5% of the population. This is why we need more OLLI members. We've got such talent out there that we need to bring in to share with one another. In Sedona, right? Are most of you in Sedona? Nod your heads. Yeah, in Sedona, 42.6% of the people are over 65 years of age. 42.6% of the people over 65 years of age in Sedona. Cottonwood, 27.6% of the population is over 65 years of age. We look like the future of an aging society. If you want to know what the rest of the country is going to look like when all of the baby boomers get older and they all push through, all you have to do is go to the grocery store, go to an OLLI class, go to your local house of worship, and you'll see what the future of an aging society. We're cutting edge. We like to say that a lot. I'm not a big fan of that because I always think that I've missed something and I shouldn't be claiming that. But in terms of demographics, we're right on the edge of what the brave new world looks like with older adults at 40+%, 65 years of age and over. We've had a tremendous amount of influence in our culture. Think about it as baby boomers. Baby boomers are born between 1946 and 64. So if you're wondering if you're a baby boomer, if you were born in that 46 to 64 range, you are indeed a baby boomer. When we were younger, the baby boom generation, it greatly impacted America culture. In fact, I like to think that we had so much power that we convinced people it was fashionable to wear a dead raccoon on their head. The Daniel Boonskin caps. Think about those. That was an iconic thing that as a kid, I remember saying to my mom, I want one of those, Mom. I want one. Dennis, it's a dead raccoon. You're not wearing a dead raccoon on your head. Oh, Scott's got one. I need one. So that's how much power we had from a demographic perspective. And we didn't even have any money back then as kids. But now we've got resources, financial resources we've accumulated, intellectual knowledge that we've accumulated. We've accumulated an awful lot of things in that period of time. We are a very popular, powerful demographic. And I think there's more for us to do, a great deal more for us to do. And, I'm talking to you and OLLI, who agreed to come out of your house and teach one another. I mean, at a fundamental level, that's about all you can ask for people is take care of one another. And that's what you do. That's why OLLI is so successful. Yeah, it's nice to, news and views and nuts for the day and all that stuff. But really what you're doing is socializing with one another, making sure one another are okay. And that's a great way to live your life. There's no doubt about it. One of the issues that I've had to deal with in gerontology, because I remember I told you it's a personal, psychological, multidimensional field that deals with sexuality and relationships and business and finances and religion. All sorts of things are woven into the multidimensional field of aging. One of the things that I think is interesting is the speed at which our culture has moved. I've been watching that as a clinician and just quite frankly, as a human. I remember when I first started to do my seminars, I'd be in a hotel and I'd have to use the bathroom in the hotel and there'd be a phone on the wall in the bathroom. And if you can think back to when we had phones on the wall, that was great. But to have it in the bathroom, it always struck me as a little weird. It's like, what deal do I have to close from here right now? I'm like, hi, yeah. I'm kind of busy. Yep. You okay? That sounds like a good markup. We could go with that. Now listen, I got a lot of paper, but I don't have a pen here right now. Can I, it gives it to me a whole new meaning to reach out and touch someone, you know, the old telephone thing. No, leave me alone. I don't want to move this fast. And I think that's something that we've had to deal with. I've had to deal with. And I think we still continue to have to deal with it. If you look at some of the debate that's going on now about the social media platforms, and what should we allow in, what should we not allow in for instant communication? Are there ethics involved? Are there tests of what's real, what's not real? Should we just open it up to everybody and continue to spew forth a bunch of ideas about everything, whether they're true or not? I think to me, that's an interesting time. I'm curious to see how we handle this. So let me ask you a question. You can unmute too. I'm going to stop talking for a little bit. What do you think about growing older? Here's the question. This is kind of like a guided meditation. I want you to kind of close your eyes and imagine yourself 10 years from today. And think about, what are you doing? Who are you with? What's important to you? Think about that. What are you doing? Who are you with? And what's important to you? When you get that image in your head, come back and we'll try to have a quick conversation about this. Make sure you unmute if you want to say something. Ray, you have to unmute. I saw your hand going. Yes?
My tremor's so bad it's hard to unmute.
Okay.
When I turned 70, it felt like an achievement.
Yes.
I'm now 79.
Uh-huh.
As far as I'm concerned, I had a knee replacement. 2 knee replacements. The first one wasn't any good. The second one, they call it a revision. I can't even imagine 10 years from now.
Okay.
Getting old, as far as I'm concerned, at this point, it just feels like it sucks. And I'm having a real problem with this.
Okay.
Whereas
So,
70 felt like an achievement. I was getting wise.
Yeah.
Maybe the rest of you would disagree with that, but you know,
how about 80? What do you think 80 is going to be like?
I guess I'll make it to 80 probably, but I don't know. This is tough. Now I don't know how old you all are. I'm not a baby boomer. I'm
Right.
too old to be a baby boomer. I was born in 41.
Oh, you missed it by 5 years.
Right, I missed the revolution. You guys had fun.
I know. All the problems we had to fix were because of your generation. I hope you're happy with yourself.
Yeah, you talk about sex and drugs. I mean, I missed all that.
Yeah. Well, you know, you've lived from 40 to 79. You had time to catch up.
Yeah, well, I must admit, things got a little wild when I was in my 30s.
Good for you.
Oh, okay, I did kind of catch up, but
Yes.
I don't know. I'm curious as to how many other of you people here, well, how many, I don't know. There's a lot of black boxes here instead of faces.
Yeah. Well, let's hear from others and see what they saw 10 years out from now. But don't give up. I can tell by your attitude, you still got plenty of trouble left in you. Anybody else want to share what they saw?
Yes.
Ernie.
Yes. Well, I was debating whether I would still be riding my horse 10 years. That's about the cusp of when we might think of hanging it up. But we're both 80 and we're still downhill skiing and riding our horse.
Sure.
And giving up virtually almost nothing. Okay.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Refuse to get old.
Ernie, I'm going to get to the part of sexuality later on. I heard you say almost nothing. I won't ask you any particular question about it, but I'll tell you some things that you ought to know.
And I'll just say one thing.
Wait, before you do, I've been waiting this entire lecture get to the sex and the
I know.
correct, you know.
Yes, it's chapter 8 in the book. If you want to get the book, you go
I
right
gotta
to
buy the book. Okay.
it.
And I just don't think of myself growing older. I think of myself growing wiser,
Yeah,
more compassionate,
yeah.
growing more friendly, all the good things that are still available to us.
Beautiful, beautiful.
But
Kohava,
that
is
is-
that
Yes.
an abbreviation?
Yes, I just want to be in the same place that I am now.
Yes,
10 years from now. I hope the OLLI will still be here. And of course, the weather in this area is good.
yes.
I don't know if I will continue being a facilitator, but still, it's not bad. It's not bad. Thank God.
Right.
All I can say is thank God.
So you want to be in the same place physically. How about psychologically and spiritually?
Oh, yeah, we go to temple. I do my prayers, and there
Yeah.
was a lot of good things.
Yeah,
I use a lot of things in Phoenix.
Okay.
Of course,
yeah.
driving to Phoenix is not easy. Maybe it won't be easy
No,
by then.
yeah.
But and when I hear people like you, they make me, because I've been laughing all the whole lecture.
I saw you. I've been watching you to
Beautiful.
make me stay on track. And Ernie, by the way, here's a tip from a gerontologist as you get older. Ride a shorter horse. Just get a smaller horse. Like every 2 years, get a shorter horse. So that's, if you fall off, it's not that far.
I just fell off a week ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit sore.
Yeah.
But you learn, you wear a helmet, you wear a hit air vest that blows up when you leave the horse before you hit the ground.
Yes.
So, you get a little wiser.
That's right.
As
It's called adaptation, and that's an important piece of growing older. There's a researcher named Bernice Newgarden that said the older you get, and this is really, I think, the key of aging, the more you become like yourself and less like anyone else.
That's good.
Right? And that's why I do this activity with you. I want you to get a sense of who you are, going to temple, riding horses, trying to find that person that put the wrong piece in your knee to get back and handle them. But the older you get, the more you become like yourself and less like anyone else. It's called individuation. And if you can recall back to the old psych days, there's a great writer named Carl Rogers, who was a humanist. And he talked, there you go, Matt. He talked about becoming. He wrote the book, quite frankly, called On Becoming. And the challenge that we have and the opportunity that we have every day as we grow older is to become more of ourselves and less like anyone else. It's our path, it's our journey. And that's the beauty and the challenge of living, is to become more of who we want to be. We can't listen to our culture. And this, again, is why I wrote the book. I mean, if you think about the negative images that are presented to us all the time in the field of aging, just the saying, oh, I'm a gray hair, I'm a no hair, I'm a blue hair. What does that mean? And I know this is being recorded, so I won't use any swear words in there. But what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything, particularly since I've gone through all of those phases. I've had blue hair, I've had gray hair, and now I have no hair. Quite frankly, I'd be happy to have some of the gray hair back. It's a better deal, if you ask me. But, one of the things we were taught as kids, and I was aware of this with my children, was images of aging. Even in you may be doing this with grandkids, and I think probably a lot of your grandkids are older. The story time books we'd read them were very full of ageist imaging. You think of Hansel and Gretel, right? The brother and sister that get set out into the woods, and it gets dark and they get lost, and oh, this is scary, this is not good. And then they come upon a cottage that has that glowing window they always had a yellow light, a color in the window, and oh, this is safety, this is salvation. And the older brother always talks the younger sister into going to knock on the door. And who opens the door? An old woman witch who's going to eat him. And then we tuck our kids into bed and go, have a nice night, have a nice sleep. We've impregnated them
Well,
ageist and sexist imaging, like you read about. We need to change, or even, quite frankly, the birthday cards that we send to one another. Think about the last ones that you've got. My friends, they don't like sending me birthday cards because I give them a hard time. Most of them are like, hey, you're 7 years old, gravity works. It's always a negative slice at you about growing older. And it's unacceptable. We need to celebrate. You can find positive cards. They're way down the end of the aisle in the grocery store on the left. And in fact, my sister-in-law sent me a card one time. It was perfect. And I've used this story. It sent me a card and she said, "Dear Dennis, on your birthday, I thought I'd tell you how I feel." And I thought, oh, that's so nice. And I opened it up and inside it said, "I feel fine, thanks." That was it. And I'm like, that's a great birthday card, sissy. You would never really tell me how you feel. I appreciate that you understand our relation. You know I would use it against you. So you went the safe way and just said, "I feel fine, thanks."
I have a great card.
Yeah, I thought it was a great one. What do you want to say, Marcy? Yeah.
I have two great cards.
Good.
One was, I'm so glad you're visiting Yosemite, all those great trees. When did you plant them?
That's
There's
positive.
The best one I gave my husband just recently said, "You're at the perfect age." And you open it up and it says, "Not dead."
Yes.
And frankly, I think we aren't.
No.
And the worst part is the image that we're too old to do much. I really dislike painting Biden as 78 and therefore he's allopated.
Yeah.
I mean, the other president was 74 and we're still, a lot of us vital, still involved in the community, still doing things. And I personally feel pretty good. And I hope 10 years from now, I will still be a force for the good in some area. I guess that's what I'm thinking of.
Are you a force for the good in areas now?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Well, then you will be, because as you get older, you become more like yourself and less like anyone else. You don't become something you're not. You work on that work of art. In fact, one of my favorite sayings, when people say, "Oh, you work with older people, what's it like to get older?" I know they really don't want to know the answer. Mostly they're just being polite. And so I give them the short answer. I say, well, my favorite saying is, youth is a gift of nature and aging is a work of art. And I want you to think about that. And youth is indeed a gift. And I don't mean to diminish it. I'm not saying it's not work. Being young, if you can recall, and I can, was a lot of work. But youth is a gift of nature. Aging is a work of art. It goes back to what I was saying about becoming. Every day we're alive, we get a chance to work on that sense of self, that work of art that we are. Now, is this art, does it have to become perfect? Absolutely not. That would be way too much pressure to put on anyone. In fact, from my perspective, good art is a little bit screwy somehow. It makes it more interesting to look at. That if it was perfect, it would not hold my attention nearly as much. That's the quote is by a guy named Stanislaw Lek. When I was writing the book, I looked that up, and there are about 5 people that took credit for it. But WikiHow told me that no, there were more people said it was Stanislaw Lek than any other group. So I attributed it to him. I didn't know how to get right back to that. But think about that for a second. If you're a work of art in progress, then what you're doing 5 years from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, who you're with, what's important to you, our values will change. There's no doubt about it. Our values change as we get older, kind of related to the circumstances. but they're not totally brand new values. They're adaptations of things that we've had before, deeper meaning, deeper understanding. I'm much better at listening to someone that I disagree with than I was when I was younger. I can just look at them and go, okay, all right, what else you want to talk about? You're not sucking me into this stupid stuff you talk about. Sorry, it wasn't a good example. But it's skills learned over time. So I said I would go an hour and then take a bunch of questions and answers, and I'll just kind of, here's something for sexuality, and not for you, Ernie, in particular, but since you brought it up, people in their 70s, 80s, 65 are still sexually active, can be still sexually active. And the question I have is, in our culture, why do we paint the opposite picture that, oh, that was then, and this, I'm not interested. Cultural pressure gets to us. Very rarely do we see older people engaged in sexual activities. If we do, quite frankly, they're usually sitting in two separate bathtubs overlooking the view. I don't know why they can't be in the same bathtub. It's not very functional being in two separate bathtubs, but for some reason they do that. Internalized depression, that sense of self that we've had all our lives, that as we grow older, we're less intelligent, less beautiful, less capable. The things that people have told us develops a sense of, oh, why would you want to look at this? Well, because I've never, all right, early on I looked at your body, but mostly I'm looking at your mind and your spirit and the love that you give. That's what I'm relating to in terms of intimacy. So you're better than you were before. This is more fun. Physical changes, pain, medication, that can impact people. Lack of creativity, a lack of partners can be an issue with this. One of the interesting things is that more and more people are finding sexual pleasure with the same sex later on in life. Whereas before they might have been heterosexual, later on they might be exploring a little bit more. So one thing I just want to leave you with is that notion, because I'm getting in deep water here, I can tell your faces stopped smiling. They're like, I didn't really want to talk about that, but thanks for sharing. So I would say youth is a gift of nature. Aging is a work of art. The older you get, the more you have an opportunity to become who you are and less like anyone else. Work on that work of art. Don't forget that my book is available on Kindle and Amazon. If you wanted to send me an email, I'll sign you a copy and send you a book back for a small price of $15. And that's the business part of this. Let's do question and answers. I hope this met some of your needs today. So let's do question and answers.
Dennis, this is Tony.
Hi, Tony.
I have another quote for you from.
Okay.
Oh God, I'm getting old. I can't think of the guy's. Mark Twain. He said, "Aging is a matter of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter."
Groucho Marx said, "A man is only as old as the woman he feels."
As the woman what?
He feels.
Mom's Mabley, remember the African-American woman, the comedian? She said, "I don't know, I just woke up one morning and I had it." Questions?
Is your book available on ebook? Because I can't see regular books anymore. I got to read them on my iPad.
It's available through Kindle.
Okay.
But it's not narrated. In fact, people have said to me, you should narrate your book because it would be more fun than reading your book. Although the book is, I wrote it very conversationally. A friend of mine back east called me, said, "Dennis, I read your book and it's very conversational. In fact, I can't get your voice out of my head." I said, "Well, Thank you. I know you didn't mean that as a compliment, but I appreciate it. So Kindle, Amazon,
Okay.
I got them.
Anything about drugs?
Drugs, yeah.
Yeah, 2 cocktails a night, right?
Well, here's the thing about that. It's true, and I do talk about this in the book. As we age, alcohol is water soluble, and as we age, we have to be careful because our kidneys filter waste 50% less efficiently than they used to. And when we started the 2 cocktails, you can see your face is like, oh no, I'm getting a lecture. But when we started the 2 cocktail at night thing, you're probably in your 40s or 50s. And I would see people who were having trouble with alcohol later in life. And I'd be like, oh, so no, I've had the 2 cocktails every day of my life. And when'd you start? 40. I'm like, how much did you weigh then? Oh, about 50 pounds more than I do now. Did you have high blood pressure then? No. Are you taking medicine for high blood pressure now? Yep. High blood pressure medicine is generally a diuretic, gets fluid out of your system, so your blood pressure drops. So in your kidneys filter waste 50% less efficient as you get older. So you're drinking the same amount of alcohol, but it's getting to you faster and more seriously than you would have imagined, because you haven't changed at all. Your body and circumstances have. But in terms of medication, I think you have to have a good sense of self to be able to advocate with physicians. You know, physicians are doing their job, they're doing the best they can, and you know, they know they're supposed to listen, so they try to listen, but it's your body we're talking about. In fact, there's a story of old Jake up in Maine, and he's 86 years old, and he goes into the doctor, and the doctor gives him a stick in the mouth, pat on the back exam, says, "So Jake, you know, what's bringing you here?" And he goes, "Well, doctor, my right knee is killing me." And the doctor, you know, pats him and goes, "Well, Jake, you know, you're 86 years old. You got to expect these things." Jake looks at him and goes, "Well, near as I can tell, my left knee is 86 years old and it feels fine." So if you're going to see a physician who gives you you're getting older, you ought to expect this, you might want to ask some more questions and think about going to see a different physician that will take the time to really look at what's going on with you. And that relates to medications and all of those other things also. Sorry, that wasn't a great answer for you. I'm trying to imagine what motivated your question about the drugs, but that's a caveat. Ray.
Marijuana is legal now.
It is.
You know, who would have thought? You know.
Yeah. It can help with sleep disturbances. It can create disturbances. It's amazing what it can do. Other questions? Yes, Marge.
You've spoken about adaptation.
Yes.
I've heard the word come and go. And I think as we grow older, at least in my life, there get to be a lot of losses, a lot of things like, okay, I used to be a marathon runner in my 60s. That isn't happening anymore. That's a loss.
Yes.
And of course, we've been in this horrible pandemic. And I don't know if anybody here has come out of it unscathed, not knowing anyone who has died. Look at your 50-year high school reunion pages and see how many of us are left.
Right.
Can you speak a little more on adaptation to loss? Because I think that's big.
Yes. It's tied into that work of art that I'm talking about. Light and dark. You can't have light without darkness in our life. It's part of living. In art, it's part of art. Light, shadow, contrast. We all experience changes and challenges and loss. If we have, my sense is, if we have a sense of ourselves that we're comfortable with, we're more able to handle some of those challenges of life. Because it's not like something that was taken away. It was there and it's gone, but we always understood that that might happen anyways. And here I am with myself again. And adaptations from a physical perspective, I see people with glasses on. You know, we learned, yeah, now I see them with them off. The number of people that I've encountered and working with older people that will wear glasses but not hearing aids just astounds me. It's an adaptive device. Yeah, what? Say that again. It's an adaptive device, and why wouldn't you use something that helped? Both my brother and sister have MS, and one uses a walking stick and the other one falls down from time to time, and they're both older than I am. It's an adaptation to have a walking stick with you. If you lose a partner or you lose a loved one, that happens all the time in life, and we're always shocked. We're like, how did that happen? Well, we know the physiology of it, how it happened, but really the question is, why did that happen to me? Now, I'm not ready for that. My dad died when I was 10 in a car accident. And, you know, that was I think that leads to my sense of youth is a gift of nature. I realized at 10, hey, you know, guess what, Dennis? You're here, he's gone. What are you going to do about it? You know, what are you going to do in terms of your sense of self and understanding where to get male images from? Who's a good man to follow? Who's not a good man to follow? Are they all, can one person have all of those values encapsulated in just them? I found rarely can they. You look and pick your best out of the buffet that's out there. Marcy, but not Marcy. What's your name, sir?
Well, my name's David, and
okay, David.
Dave, and Marcy won me 60 years ago in a poker game. So
good.
Anyway,
good.
You know, I'm 82.
Yeah.
And I feel pretty good. In fact, I feel very good. And I guess my goal going forward is I want to do it as gracefully as I can.
Really? That can be kind of boring.
Well, no, a lot of things aren't there. I wear glasses, I have hearing aids, you know, but, you know, I can either accept that or not. And
absolutely.
I think it's important for me to just kind of go with the flow.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying about becoming. We become, every day that we get a chance to wake up, we become something. And it's within our purview to decide how we want to adjust. And if the cards you get may not be great cards in this, the hand you just got dealt, but that doesn't mean you can't throw some back. You can't re-look at them a different way. You might have to play that hand, but how we adjust to it, how we frame that experience has a lasting impact on how we view the rest of what we're going to do. So I teased you about gracefully, because that was one of the comments that came out for a while ago when people were starting to realize they should stop being anti-ageist. And they're like, I want to age gracefully. I'm like, well, that sounds boring.
Well, I think it's pretty important.
Oh, I do too.
At least for me.
Oh, yeah. And I think if you've been listening to what I'm saying about becoming and the work of art, I hold individuals and their sense of self in great esteem.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, I have something that I have on my cupboard that I look at every day. So I don't know, I'm not real high tech. I don't know if this is going to go with me or not. But it says, care deeply, think kindly, act gently, with gratitude and grace, and be at peace with the world.
Yeah.
I see that 20 times a day.
That's a good ingredient. Those are a good list of ingredients to help you get through the day.
Well, I hope that'll get me through the next 10 years. I'm 80,
yes.
so I mean 80 also.
Yeah. So were you looking back at my life expectancy thing going, oh, I got stuff to do.
You didn't say 80, but you said 85. My mother
Okay.
lived till 93 and she was a
Yeah,
really good role model. So I would be happy to be like her.
wonderful. And you have people that are watching you, I'm sure, too, that are trying to figure out what's important, and you're sharing your learning with them. In fact, that's what happens at OLLI. I mean, people share much greater than just factual knowledge. They share meaning and purpose in their lives, and that's really the most important thing as we grow older, and no matter what age, really, to have meaning and purpose.
True.
Can I answer any other questions, or are you just ready to be class dismissed? You're ready. Thank you very much. This was better than I thought it was going to be. I hope it was okay for you.
It was great.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dennis.
Everybody's going to go out and do one of the 3 things on the book title.
There you go. Do them all. In fact, I found that people have come and seen the lecture. Like, you know, I used to start like, all right, how many people came for the sex?
Yeah.
You know, a couple of people would put their hands up, and I'm like, how many people came for the drugs? And they'd laugh, and you'd see more hands. How many people, if we start doing drugs, will have sex? And everybody would have their hands up.
Dennis, thank you so very much. And
My
you're
pleasure.
no stranger to us. And so you all will know in the audience, this has been recorded. We will edit what we need to at the beginning, and I'll share this with Tricia, and we'll be sharing it to our OLLI members in Sedona Verde Valley as well.
All right. Let me give you my email address. It's dgarvey, Garvey, the number 11 at Gmail. If you want to contact me, if you want a book, let me know.
I just put it in the chat too. If
Oh,
anybody wants
I
to
see
type in the
that.
chat.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good time, all.
Thank you so much. Yay.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hi.
Thank
Bye.
you.